How's it going, everyone? We got some more TikToker clips to watch.
Before we were all born. We want to know why we're being told that they were built with hammers and chisels. Today, I think we take a step closer to finding out where this incredible knowledge of construction truly came from. Where we are all aware of the massive continent that was completely left out of our mainstream textbooks, the land of Mu. So let's go even deeper. When we go back to this article from the Courier Journal from 1925, nearly 100 years ago, where it reads, according to the records from Colonel Churchward and the East Indian High Priest, the records state that some people were brought by flying machines to India from the land of Mu in the Pacific Ocean. The records say that Mu was the motherland of man. In Mu was the Garden of Eden, where they had cities, where they learned to build palaces of marble. They acquired the skill to quarry gigantic blocks of stone and to transport them long distances and to carve them into human faces. Like we saw in episode 60 in Easter Island, where the records say that the people of Mu navigated the air and had ships where they sailed to far distant lands with rich cargo. And now that we know all of this, I want to show a few things. First of all, this is showing that the technology of flight has been here before, where the Wright brothers' story, creating the first plane in the 1800s, would be a massive lie, where they have this information stored and giving it back to us slowly, as we have discussed. Secondly, they mention in the tablets that the land of Mu was in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean has been named the Pacific Ocean for 13,000 years? Or was the land of Mu here much closer to our timeline? Or is there more land? Not the entire continent, obviously, but are there other lands, possibly bigger than Easter Island and possibly bigger than Hawaii, left over from that cataclysmic event?
Sorry, but you think that's why there's like the Bermuda, the triangle down there? Dang it! Because they get too close to the island, and that's why they disappear. I don't know. Something to think about. I know that on different old maps, there's like there's the land in the north, right? The North Pole, and then there's like on some maps there's a bunch of land connected to Greenland, and there's this map that he just showed.
Are still here today and simply hidden from our maps and our flight paths, where our current day planes could simply just be flying around that area, where these hidden islands could be.
Bermuda Triangle. Shoot, I couldn't say that.
Hidden knowledge, where our flight paths are just circling it. The Garden of Eden, the place where humans had cities, where they learned to build palaces of marble, and learning all of the construction skills that we are all asking questions about worldwide today. We are all wondering who built these cathedrals. We all know at this point that the horse and wagon community did not hire Donkeys Incorporated in the 17 and 1800s to chisel away at some stone and marble and knock out the Cologne Cathedral. We know this. We know that they didn't hit the stone with a hammer, a little harder and with a little more precision than we do today. And their work just lasts forever, and ours doesn't. It's not about effort. There's knowledge involved here, and we are just getting started today. Welcome to episode 61 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if
Yeah, I recommend my lunch break. Even if somebody doesn't believe the little season theory or anything like that, I mean, I don't know how someone could explain that the way we're taught history that they were able to build buildings like that. Um, it just seems impossible. I mean, like the horses alone, you would need to load all the stuff there. I know there's a lot of videos talking about airships. I definitely think airships were around back then. I just think stuff was a lot different back then.
Forward to history like we're children. Like,
Yes.
I mean, it's everything they told us. Virtually everything they told us is either not true or a snippet of the truth or omitting something that would make us question more of their narrative. And they freaked out when I shared a BBC documentary, no less,
Yes.
because they had tried to like wipe this from the universe
Yes.
about how Germans were ethnically cleansed. following World War II.
Yes.
So there was no war going on.
Yep.
Immediately after, they allowed
Anyone to speak German.
Stalin's to just go in.
In
And
Poland, Czechoslovakia, they just wiped them off the face of the map.
it's insane. And then to know that prior to World War II, there's a book written by a guy, last name Kaufman, I'm blanking on the first
Sorry for pausing. I know a lot of people like these two, and they say a lot of stuff that's true, but I wouldn't trust them. That's my opinion. I mean, I think they're way too big to not be in on it. And plus, there was like a video I watched one time where Candace had like went to a school. She was like raised in it or something. I don't remember the name of the school. It was the same one that I think Erica Kirk went to, but I could be wrong about that.
name where he said it's Germany must perish.
Yeah.
Like they literally wanted to get rid of Anglo-Saxons. And so when you have that context and you're going, whoa, why was I never told about this book, which was published in America about like he wrote a book about how they would have to just annihilate them, how they had to make them infertile, that they couldn't produce. And then you hear at the end of that war, what was done to German speaking civilians.
Yeah.
And that should send a chill down your spine
Yes.
that you don't know it. That is what scares me, that we were never taught it, which means that we were specifically told an angle, and that angle has been protected for a very long time for a reason that must be evil, because lies can only be served to protect evil.
Yes. And you know what? And I'm going to get put in jail anyway, so I don't care. I'm going to speak my mind because you're here. So I actually realized this very, very early on. So I've always been a big history buff. And when I was 19, 20, 21, I was still traveling the world a little bit. And then I realized that every single country has their own version of World War II history. Every single country is different, even all the ones that we're supposed to agree with. Every country is different. France teaches that, the French resistance overthrew the Nazis and they never really surrendered because the French were still fighting and they won the war even though they surrendered. Poland.
Sorry for pausing again, but the Tate brothers, their dad was like in the CIA. Something to think about.
Obviously lost epically to both sides. However, the Polish are taught that it was the Polish men who stood up and blah, blah, blah. The Russian version of World War II is the most accurate that can be taught because they talk about all the major fighting and all the heavy lifting essentially to defeat the Germans was done by them and all the blood was spilled by them. They're kind of correct. But as a young man, when I was reading all these different versions of World War II history and what we were taught, you know what the Germans are taught? Do you know German World War II history if you're in school in Germany? German World War II history is as follows. Some evil people took over our country. Handful of people, wasn't us. Very small handful of people took over our country. And the German resistance movement, along with the Allies, got rid of the evil people. So every country has a different history. And as a young man, I was like, well, this can't all be true. So that's when I started digging into it and understanding World War II history in a way that if I spoke it vocally in public and I had an audience, I'd get put in jail. But by all means, whatever country you're from, please look into this because it's different in every country for a reason because it suits their particular narrative. So what's the actual truth? Right. The truth is none of the countries who won teach an accurate version of World War II history. None of the countries who won teach the actual reasons why the war happened. None of the countries who won teach the aftermath and, what happened because the war was won by the people who won. So it's a rabbit hole that you are digging up publicly. And, I'll see you in jail.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in the World War II story, It's hard telling 100% what's the truth. I mean, I would love to know, but I just know there's a lot of holes in a lot of it.
Cold War wasn't real. What if it was never about freedom versus communism, but just a long, expensive illusion? Think about it. Two superpowers both racing for nukes, space, and domination, but somehow never actually fighting each other directly. Doesn't that feel a little too perfect? What if, behind all that smoke and fear, the United States and the Soviet Union were never enemies, just business partners in a game bigger than any of us could see, a game designed to justify surveillance, build up weapons, keep populations divided, afraid, busy, because fear makes people easier to control. And wars, especially fake ones, are perfect for printing money, rewriting laws, and resetting global power. What if the real war was always against us? The people, the workers, the ones building the machines, paying the taxes, in the name of causes we never chose. And what if those leaders we trusted, those men in suits smiling on our TV screens, were all reading from the same script while we sat and clapped thinking we understood the story? They've probably always been on the same team, and we have been the audience.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
Yeah, I mean, they're all buddy buddy. They know what each other's buttholes look like. um, yeah, I don't trust any politician from any country.
I just met with the team, and let me tell you, the clock is ticking, okay? With what I learned today, I don't care what you hear on the news. I don't care what you heard on the State of the Union address last night where the president saying everything is fine. Things are not fine. I think we are a match strike away from going into a world war. I got 3 messages from different sources that are in the U.S. Armed Forces saying it's about to go down, okay? They are prepping for a massive strike. And this is all going on in front of the whole world while the tensions are high in all the superpower countries. We have another country, you know which, that's doing an AI attack. And then we have another country, I'm not naming names here, but they flagged you. We have another country, I think you can figure it out, that is advertising that the U.S. is not going to be using diplomacy, and they are absolutely not going to be allowing Iran to have any nuclear weapons. All this going on, and people are talking about the economy and how great it's going. Wake up, people. They don't even care if they're caught lying anymore. They are getting ready for a global power shift. A global power shift. Stay ready. I have huge updates coming tomorrow.
And it's kind of surprising that people still trust any politician, on either side. Like, don't they see what bugs me when people, I think I've said this before, but people that want to act like conspiracy theorists are dumb. They're so confident in what they're saying. I think I definitely said this in a couple videos ago, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just can't trust them.
After each reset. The theme depicted in Denver's airport is very real. Civilization collapses and burns. Civilization is literally melted down, and there are pockets or fragments of survival. So there's a natural reset, followed by dozens of reset wars. Cities become empty. The children of the Aboriginal remnant are hoarded into orphan asylums. And these incubator babies, these orphan train babies, these clones, are used to repopulate those cities. That's why there was so much child labor. Generations of clones raising clones, each generation knowing less than the last one. As depicted in this mural, most if not all of the adults are wiped out. Only the children remain. All memory is stored magnetically. In natural resets, the memories are wiped, like a degausser. Only the innate memories and knowledge of self will survive. So children from truly wise parents will have the knowledge of self in their blood. Once people are wiped, their default programs take over if they're from a corrupted seed. This theme is widespread throughout pop culture. Most just write it off as fiction or fairy tales. Art depicts life and life depicts art. The fates are very real. And fairies are just spirit programs, part of the original AI. The following are pop culture examples of how the children of the Reset Remnant are kidnapped and abused, essentially stealing the collective's power to dream up new fates. The dreams of the children determine the course of creation. The Pied Piper theme is very real. This actually happened. Peter Pan is much more dark than people know. Amnesia is the common theme. This is essentially the unconscious reset and reincarnation cycle. It is oblivion. Peter Pan is modeled after the chimeric Greek god Pan. He's part animal, he never wants to mature, and he stays in a pleasure loop. The Lost Boys forget reality while they're in Neverland. It's like falling asleep in a dream perpetually, and they have no recall when they come back from Neverland. And Pinocchio is just as dark too. Pinocchio and the boys get stuck on Pleasure Island, and they become human trafficked slaves, or donkeys. Again, a pleasure loop causes amnesia. It's a theme of becoming a husk on a euphoria pain loop. This movie is very direct about what's going on. A prematurely aging clone steals dream energy from kids to live longer. The clone uses AI to kidnap kids. The clone can't really dream, so he has to steal dreams and feed off the innocence. He eventually gets trapped in a snake eating its own tail loop. You develop a slave and master relationship with your body whenever you resort to pleasure and escapism loops. You become a husk for walk-ins and your dream power is used against the collective. You're essentially a changeling. You then have memories deleted or suppressed, and then you get memories implanted. Look, people already confuse memories with dreams, but the next step is fully synthetic dreams. When you block your dreams, you forfeit your future. You become no different than the children that got led away by the Pied Piper. People get severed from their children more and more as the inner child gets severed for generations. People have become attached to this dream that they don't want to wake up from that they call life, and essentially become stuck in a liminal space like Neverland, sleepwalking us into another reset.
And I had a wild dream last night. It was weird. I I don't know. I thought about making a channel talking about some of my dreams. I don't know if anybody would watch them. I mean, I'm not saying I'm anything special. I think dreams are interesting. I think there's something there. I don't know. Some of them are pretty wild. So, I don't know if anybody's interested. Let me know in the comments. Um, this guy, I mean, I think he says some truth in there, like Peter Pan and Pied Piper, whatever his name is. But I disagree with him on a lot of things. So, um, but yeah.
Secret war so classified that even Congress didn't know it existed. Between 1964 and 1973, American pilots dropped bombs on Laos every 8 minutes. For 9 years straight, over 2 million tons of explosives rained down on this neutral country, more than all bombs dropped in World War II. Entire villages vanished overnight, farmers became craters, children's playgrounds turned into moonscapes. The operation was so secret that pilots weren't even allowed to admit they were there. Maps were destroyed, flight logs erased. When the bombing finally stopped, America just left. Millions of cluster bombs remained buried in the soil, waiting. For 50 years, Laotian children have been blown apart playing in their own backyards. Farmers lose limbs tending their fields. The US government denied the campaign existed for decades. Families had no explanation for their obliterated homeland. No compensation for the American ordnance still killing their loved ones. Laos became the most heavily bombed country per capita in human history, and most Americans have never even heard of it.
That's wild. I mean, U.S. needs to take accountability for it. Sounds like, and like help fix it. Crazy.
Start because of the Epstein files. The Iran war started to rewrite our entire financial system and shift power from world governments to corporation states ran by CEOs and their companies. A world where every single asset and currency is tokenized and tracked. That way we can trade tokens. I can trade you my car for your house simply by trading tokens. A world built around tokens and agents. Yes, every asset and currency will be a token, but the entities that move these assets and tokens will be agents. They're the consumers, not us. Agents take action and think way better than we do. And not to mention, agents spend money faster than we do. You think these CEOs, these leaders are going to build this new world around us? Oh, you don't believe me, right? This is a conspiracy theory. Why did Trump have a private closed door meeting with the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, last week? No one knows what went on in that meeting. That's not all. Why did OpenClaw blow up this year? Manus came out last year. Manus is also an autonomous AI agent. Why did OpenClaw make such a big noise this year? Why did Meta just buy Moltbook? Why did Nvidia just announce they're releasing their own OpenClaw? Because states need consumers to function, to spend money, and these agents are the new consumers. These CEOs are gearing up to turn their companies into corporation states. Think about it. Don't you find the whole timeline a little bit weird? Now, why won't the United States give up? No matter how high the price of oil goes, no matter how many people get unalived, whatever tragedy happens, no one is going to quit. One side is holding on to their religion and their faith, but they think that's stronger than the other side. Yes, America does not have that level of religion, but you are severely underestimating the white man's love for money, if that, I promise you. So how does Iran fit into all of this? Iran is the most heavily sanctioned country in the world by the US government, and they've been bypassing US sanctions by selling their oil through crypto underneath the US government's nose. Iran represents a leakage in the system, in this new surveillance state, in this new tokenized agent state that we're heading into. If a whole country, a whole government represents a leakage, then all of us in theory can just go over there and trade our assets outside of the system. The system has minimal value. You can cheat the system. Just a disclaimer, I think businessmen should be politicians, not just, and you can't just say, hey, I want to be a politician. You need to have some career achievements. The problem is these CEOs are too practical and logical. In a world where all value and revenue resides within these agents, these CEOs are going to take action to build around these agents, not us. We're going to be like in the way for them.
They can print money. I mean, yeah, I'm sure a lot of what he said was true. But I think most of what they do is for other worse reasons. You know what I mean? Um, for control or like their gay little, sacrificial stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
This is Iraq. Okay, so let's look at their
I hate when these videos have music in them.
escalation ladder. So the first thing the United States does, of course, is something called decapitation. What is decapitation? Decapitation is like, I just kill your leaders, you don't have any more leaders, and therefore you don't know what to do, and therefore you surrender, okay? That's the first thing the US did. It didn't work. So now what the United States is doing is attacking military targets, air defense, and military bases, okay? That's the second step. And the idea is that you beat the crap out of the military so they surrender. But that didn't work either, okay? So then what you do next, of course, is economic embargo, where you basically prevent Iran from trading with the world, right? Prevent Iran from selling oil to China, basically, by blockading the seas. And the idea here is that if the government doesn't have any money to pay its soldiers will just not fight, okay? But that's not working either. So then what you do, of course, is you attack civilian infrastructure, okay? Which is primarily water and oil. So you may have seen the news that the Israelis attacked an oil depot in Tehran. And now if you look at a picture of Tehran, it's all black, okay? And this is a war crime, or this goes against international law because you're attacking civilians.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think all the wars are planned. What a lot of what they're doing. I don't know. It's sad. It sucks. Anyways, sorry to end on this note, but that's the last clip I got. I appreciate you watching and have an awesome day. God bless you and your families. Bye.